Hey guys, so I am going to do a pre-record for y'all. I'm going over the stuff that I went over the last two lives, a little condensed version. I think I'm gonna make it in three parts, so this will be part one. So let's start out with his first incident that we have, at least it's on the documents, where he steals a girl's cell phone. And here's a couple pictures of the girl's cell phone that he took. You could see over the years how she changed. I feel like she got a lot prettier as the years went on. But yeah, so as you can see, these are her mug shots. But with this incident report I'm going to read, she didn't get in trouble. It's Wade stole her phone, but then she happened to get in trouble in her life. And so she's got these four mug shots. So this was on 3/21/2013. Caitlin contacted the sheriff's office by phone in reference to her mobile phone that had been stolen. Caitlin stated on March 19th she had gone over to her friend's house, Buzz, and Caitlin said Wade had been over at the apartment as well. Caitlin stated that she let Wade borrow her phone during the evening. Caitlin said Wade returned her phone to her and she went to sleep around, that'd be 8 o'clock. Caitlin said she woke up around 7 a.m. and her phone and Wade were gone. Caitlin has no contact information for Buzz or Wade, however, knew Wade lived somewhere on Spicewood Lane. She described her phone as black iPhone 4 with AT&T as the carrier. Caitlin cannot provide the serial number for her phone. She believes Wade stole her phone and pawned it at Modern Communications at the Tallahassee Mall because she overheard him talking about pawning a phone there Monday. A search in David revealed a Wade Wilson on Spicewood Lane. I was unable to locate a Buzz Bryan. Caitlin received a case number over the phone. And then it says, on March 25th, 2013, I spoke with Caitlin regarding this case. She stated that she had spoken with Wade at Buzz's residence, and he admitted to taking the phone and selling it to Modern Communications. He was not remorseful and asked her to not call law enforcement. On March 28th, I made contact with Mr. Perry Walker, owner of the Modern Communications. He verified the cell phone was there and had been put aside. Mr. Walker turned the phone over and advised if Mr. Wilson reimbursed him with the $100 he paid for the phone, he would not pursue criminal charges. The phone was turned over to Caitlin and she did not want to follow through with criminal charges. Caitlin signed an affidavit for non-prosecution. On April 1st, 2013, I made contact with Mrs. Candace Wilson, who is Wade's mother. Mrs. Wilson advised she had not seen Wade since Easter Sunday. He moved out of the residence at approximately 2 weeks prior, and he did not have a cell phone. I explained the situation to Mr. Wilson, and she agreed to pay the $100 to avoid criminal charges. On April 2nd, 2013, Mrs. Wilson provided me with a money order addressed to Modern Communications in the amount of $100. The money order was then turned over to Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker assigned the property receipt accepting the payment. This case was closed. So this guy's name is David Becker. He'll be mentioned in the next report that I'm going to be reading. So the report is from 2013 that I'm going to be reading that involves Wade, but these mugshots are from 2022, so obviously he's a lot older here. He'd be like almost 10 years older in these pictures than what he would look like then, but I can't find any mugshots of him back then because he would have been, let's see how old. Well, he would have been 20 back then. Well, he would have been 20 back then. And all the other people that are in this report, I can't find any of the other people. I mean, as far as any other pictures of any of the other people, I did find the Janelle. I found a couple of her arrests, but her mugshot isn't available. So I don't have any pictures of any of the other people involved in this next report, but here it is. So here's this other incident report. I'm just gonna, like I said, there's like way more to some of these cases that I had went over probably like 7 months ago in my videos I did. I think it's called his arrest history one. I think I covered it. I don't know. I've done a lot of Wade videos, and then I just read through it in the recent live. So I'm not going to go through all the details of all these. It's going to be more of a condensed version, but this one is on 4/5/2013 at approximately 2:25 a.m. Blank called Leon County Sheriff's Office in reference to several people in his yard. Blank told dispatch that a male broke his window. I responded to Blank's house located at Blank and made contact with him. His friend Michael and Don and blah, 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 just a few people that they have all redacted, who owns the house. Somebody, a Blank, stated a male by the name of Wade came to the house, began to shout obscenities at him. Blank believed Wade was there because he had been talking to Wade's girlfriend, Janelle. Blank and Blank did not answer the door or go outside, so Wade began yelling at him through his bedroom window. Wade then punched the window, causing it to break. Blank said David left in a silver passenger car. I interviewed Michael, who provided the same statement as Blank. Michael stated Wade came to the house and began to shout at Blank through his bedroom window. Wade punched the window, causing it to break because Blank would not come outside. I observed the window on the front of the house to the left of the front door. The window was broke and glass was lying on the ground outside beneath the window. The pine straw beneath the window was also recently disturbed, as if someone had been standing in it. I asked Dawn what she wished to have done. Dawn stated she wanted to press charges. As I was talking to Blank, Michael, and Dawn, I observed a white Honda Civic drive north past the house. Blank told me that's them. Blank said the Honda belonged to David Becker. I knew where David lived because I have dealt with him in the past on previous criminal cases. I responded to David's house located at Blank Drive. I observed a male and female in the yard standing next to the silver car. As I drove up and parked in the driveway, the male and female immediately walked to the house and went inside as if they were trying to avoid me. I knocked on the door. David's father opened the door, and the same male and female walked back out. I asked the male what his name was, and he stated he was Wade Wilson. Wade said he went to Blank's house because Blank texted him that he wanted to fight. Wade said he never stepped out of his girlfriend's Janelle's car. Wade also said he did not break the window. I interviewed Janelle, and Janelle stated Wade requested that she drive him to Blank's house. Janelle said she drove him there because Blank had been texting them and he wanted to fight and asked them to meet him at the Circle K and several other places. I asked Janelle if Wade got out of the car. Janelle said he did, but he only went a couple feet away from the car and did not break the window. Janelle later admitted that Wade walked all the way up to the house, but she did not want to tell me what Wade did. Janelle stated that she never saw Wade break the window. David drove home and I made contact with him. David stated he always went to Blank's house because Wade wanted to fight Blank. David told me Blank would not come outside, so Wade punched the window. I walked back over to Wade. I asked Wade one last time if he broke the window. Wade stated he did not. I told Wade to stand up and place his arms behind his back because he was under arrest. I told Wade several more times to stand up and place his arms behind his back, but he was reluctant to do so. Wade stood up from the front porch steps he was sitting on and started walking up the steps. I, along with Deputy J.D. Johnson, told Wade to stop. Wade shouted, "F you guys," and jumped off the porch and started running. As Wade was running, Deputy Johnson deployed his M26 taser. Wade continued to run north across Shannon Lakes Road towards Pimlico Drive. I chased after Wade. Wade jumped a fence and I lost track of where he went. Other deputies responded and set up a perimeter. Deputy Wilmot located Wade hiding behind the house at Blank Drive. I arrested Wade and brought him to the Leon County Jail without further incident. Dispatch confirmed that Wade was on probation for burglary. I charged Wade with criminal mischief, resisting, in violation of probation. Now this one I'm not going to read all the way through because like I said, I had read it in depth probably like 7 months ago, and then I also read it in the last week. So this is going to be a condensed version. So let me just give you a quick summary here. Tyler, who I'm going to be talking about next, was one of the guys that Wade was hanging out with, was 15 at the time of this next report I'm going to read you. I haven't been able to find any mugshots of him when he was 15, but I did find some mugshots of him, 5 different ones. So this first one is from 2016, which he would have been 17. It's not that far off. And then we have another one from 2018 right here, and then 2 from 2019, and then this is 2022. So this is Tyler Ogden. This is you'll see in the report where he was hanging out with Wade and stealing the firearms, and then the other person, this is Sydney. I couldn't find any other mugshots of him, which is a good sign. He probably didn't get arrested after this incident. He was 16 at the time of this incident, and actually I do have an interview with him with his mom and dad. It's in a live I did last week. I'll link it in the description. It's pretty interesting actually. And then those are the only pictures I have because those are the 3 main people here on this next incident report: Sydney, Tyler, and Wade. Wade and his friend Tyler went to Sydney's house. So Tyler was 15, Sydney was 16 at the time. Wade was 20. Obviously, Wade is a bad influence, probably talking him into like stealing from the family. So he shows up to Sydney's house with Tyler. Tyler sells him, well, he says he only sold him 1 gun, and supposedly Wade and Tyler stole the other 2 guns. So Tyler and Wade show up at Sydney's house. He claims he only sold him 1 gun. Somehow Wade and Tyler got 1 like handgun and 2 rifles that they took from Sydney's house, which was Sydney's parents, and a bunch of jewelry. Like I said, either Sydney's lying and gave them all 3 guns and some jewelry, or Sydney only gave them the 1 gun and then Wade and Tyler stole the other 2 rifles. Who freaking knows? Anyway, they end up getting in a wreck, Tyler and Wade, and so they have these guns, these rifles. They don't know what to do with them, so they basically lay them in the woods like near the wreck. So that's kind of how they got busted, because the cops, showed up to the wreck, saw the guns. Wade freaking hit his head when in the wreck. It was a car accident and there was blood, and there was blood on his shirt and he put it over the guns, whatever. They get in trouble. And then also, before that happened, they went to Tyler's dad's storage unit and stole a bunch of stuff. Two like remote cars that were like $1,000 each, I think it was. They stole like 11 guns, just like a bunch of stuff. TVs, just a bunch of stuff from Tyler's dad's storage unit. And then they changed the lock. So that's kind of all grouped together with these firearm charges because he was a felon. So basically, having firearms as a felon. Plus, these are minors. He's with a minor. He's 20. And then there's another incident where they're trying to get Tyler to rehab because Tyler's only 15. He's getting in all this trouble. And I guess he's like missing. He's supposed to be in rehab. And Wade and him are in a restaurant or whatever. And they find him. And Wade's basically encouraging him to be resistant to the cops and stuff. Okay, so I want to read you this statement that Randy Ogden wrote back then in 2014 about his son. So his son is Tyler, about his son and Wade. So this is a statement here. Wade Wilson and Tyler Ogden have been running the streets together for the past few months. Tyler had a court order to go to treatment, and Wade was hiding him and using him to sell drugs. They broke in my car and had firsthand knowledge of my storage building and what was in it. Both told me they were going to get me. This person is bad news. I came to the storage building, it had a different lock on it. I looked inside and noticed my guns, TVs, and remote cars were gone. Who could be Julia, Wade's girlfriend, and Will Thurman. So he's just a bad influence, and you'll see what what Wade ends up saying to another inmate when he gets arrested about what he does, like how he's freaking basically taking advantage of these young kids. So he's 20 years old, a felon, not supposed to have firearms, talking these. So if you want to know all the details of that, watch my live from either last week, or if you go back 7 months ago, I have a live that's like titled something about Wade's arrests. But you know what? I'm going to link him. I'm going to put him in the description if you guys want to check him out. Okay. So next, of course, Wade ends up lying about kind of that whole story, the guns and everything, but that's not surprising. Okay. So we'll jump forward to him getting arrested. So this is what they end up charging him for: possession of a firearm, ammunition, or concealed weapon by a convicted felon, grand theft of a firearm, given false information, making false report at crash. So he lied at the crash and said that he was driving, and then later on said no, he wasn't driving, he was a passenger, but he lied and said he was driving because he didn't want to get Tyler in trouble because Tyler wasn't supposed to be driving. So yeah, he gets charged with that. So like I said, I'm going to jump forward to him in jail. So that was basically end of 2014, beginning of 2015 is when that happened. The firearms theft and stuff. Okay. And they crashed the car in December. Okay. Just to give you a time frame, December of 2014. So I'm going to jump forward to him in jail. Hold on, so I'm jumping forward to June 28th, 2016. Okay. This is really interesting right here. What this inmate that he was in jail with, what he says Wade told him. And I think this is definitely important and telling of who Wade is. And let me read it. Let me know what you guys think. First of all, let me go over who this Michael Perry is, who we're going to hear about next in this next report. The one that Wade talked to in jail and told him some disturbing things. I mean, just shows you what a stand-up guy Wade is. Okay, so here's this is in 2013. So the incident report that I'm going to read where he tells them what Wade had told him, that's in 2016. So this is him in 2013. The Michael Perry, the person he talks to, and then this is him in 2016. So this would have been what he looked like when Wade talked to him. The same year. And check out some of his charges: exploitation of elderly or disabled adult greater than 10,000. Oh my God. February 3rd, 2024, March 13th, 2024, April 29th, 2024. All right, so this is, on 6/28/2016. On this date, I received a call from Assistant State Attorney John Hutchins regarding inmate Michael Perry, possibly having some information regarding this case. He asked if I could interview Perry to see what additional information he had. I responded to the Leon County Jail and interviewed Perry in Unit 3, conference room. Perry advised the following after being advised his Miranda warning. Perry stated he was roommates for approximately 4 months in Pod K with Wade Wilson. During that time, Wilson talked to him a lot about his case. Perry stated Wade told him that he did a lot of drugs while he was out of jail. Wilson stated that he had a couple of dudes with him that used to rob people, but they got smart and started doing home invasions on drug dealers because he knew they had a lot to lose and wouldn't report it. Wilson also talked about him and his co-defendant riding around in his father's vehicle one night. They had done a lot of Xanax. Wilson stated he started to doze off behind the wheel, so he had his co-defendant drive. Wilson told Perry that he dozed off in the passenger seat and a short while later woke up and his co-defendant had wrecked the vehicle. Wilson also stated that the police found the guns on scene and he's charged with possession of a firearm. Wilson also mentioned that they had quite a few guns in the car with them at the time. Wilson mentioned 2 guns in particular that belonged to him, to include, and then they redacted that. Wilson told Perry that he used the guns during home invasions and robbing people. Wilson mentioned to Perry that his public defender keeps telling him that he doesn't think the state has any evidence on him. Wilson further stated that they don't have his DNA on the guns. They can't prove the guns are his, and his co-defendant has already been sentenced to probation. Wilson told Perry that he's glad that he always uses a little scapegoat that's younger than him, that idolizes and looks up to him. Wilson continued to say that it worked out great for him on this case because his younger co-defendant has already been sentenced and is going to show up to court and testify that the guns belong to him so that Wilson can get off on these charges. Perry informed me that he already has a plea offer that should be approved sometime soon. He's hoping that his plea goes through before this case goes to trial. That way he can show up and testify. I asked Perry if Wilson told him where he got the guns from. Wade told him that he stole the guns but didn't say where he got them from. I asked Perry if Wilson ever mentioned his co-defendant's name. Perry stated Wilson never mentioned the co-defendant's name, but stated that there was only one other subject in the vehicle with him when they wrecked. Wilson told Perry that if they did find his DNA on the guns, his excuse would be that the deputy grabbed him and held him over the guns while he was passed out and his blood must have dripped onto them. Okay, Wade, yeah. That's why you put your bloody shirt over the guns. I mean, it makes no sense. And then at the wreck, you didn't have his shirt on. Anyway, Wilson also told Perry about how he likes to manipulate young girls in the brutal sex acts he performs on them. Perry said that a lot of the stories Wilson told him were unnerving and leads him to think Wilson is a sociopath. Let that sink in a little bit. I mean, we know that. We know, in 2014 what he did. We know with Mila, with Kelly, with how many other girls and young girls. I bet you there were so many that were either afraid to come forward or didn't want to, felt ashamed. I mean, who knows the reasons? I'm sure he scared them and made them seem like if they come forward, like he did with that 2014, some of the stuff he said to her almost like scared her to not come forward. I know she did end up coming forward, but then she does, and nobody believes her. Jury finds Wade not guilty. It's very sad. Also, like, some women would feel like ashamed or feel like, are they going to believe me? Or the way Wade is, I mean, he's not going to admit to it. He's just going to lie, and it's a bunch of crap. Anyway, let me continue. Perry stated that he had one stipulation because he has a 21-year-old son and a 19-year-old daughter. Perry stated that Wilson has looked through his paperwork and knows both of his kids' names and where they live. Perry said that he will not testify if he cannot be out so that he can protect his children. Perry further stated that he cannot show up for court and testify, then watch Wilson get released while he's still locked up. Perry stated that he doesn't expect his testimony alone to convict Wilson, but his main concern is for his children. Perry said that he hopes that State Attorney Hutchins can help him out. He further stated that he's not asking for any breaks on any of his charges because he's willing to plead guilty on all of his charges. I later contacted Assistant State Attorney Hutchins and they relayed the above information. He asked if I could follow up to see if the firearms from this case had been sent to FDLE for processing. On 6/29/16, I spoke with Felicia Bowen, who works in LCSO crime scene. She advised that the guns from this case are still at FDLE and provided an FDLE case number. I relayed that information to Miss Mary Glover, who is Assistant State Attorney's Hutchins' secretary. The interview with Michael Perry was burned to a CD and dropped into evidence. This case will continue to be investigated with any new information or evidence that becomes available. Any additional information will result in a supplemental report. This is an interesting one. I don't know what happened. I mean, there's no conclusion to what had happened, but I just think it's kind of interesting because it could be another one of those cases where he or this woman and she just didn't want to come forward, or he did something, manipulated her, bullied her into letting him take her car. But here's the narrative. Okay, so this is 10/17/2014. Actually, this would have been 2 months before the R in 2014. So this is this kind of jumps around from dates, but think about this. That RAPE that happened in 2014, it was December, I think 13th, 2014. So this would have been about 2 months before that. Put it into like a kind of timeline in your head, who he was, what was he doing around that time. 2 months after this, he freaking brutally R'd somebody. Did he do that to this girl too? Okay, so 10/17/2014. On this date, the reporting person, Tara Jones, stated the following. On October 12th, 2014, her daughter, Jenny, borrowed the car in Mrs. T. Jones' debit card. She was going to meet a friend named Wade Wilson for dinner, but never came home. When she did not come home, this gets confusing because they're like Mrs. T. Jones, Mrs. J. Jones. I'm just going to call the mother and daughter. I'm going to just name them by that. Okay. Okay. So when she did not come home, the mother and friends went out looking for her daughter. They found the mother's car being driven by a couple of white males. Because remember, the daughter was driving. She let her daughter take her car to go have dinner with Wade. So now they go out looking for her daughter and they see two white males driving her car, the mother's car. They got the car back without incident. The mother used the GPS feature on her daughter's phone and located the position at the corner of Wigginton Road and Crowder Road. They went to the residence, and after being lied to several times about her daughter not being there, Matthew Bryan claimed she had gotten a ride and left. They eventually gave the mother the daughter's phone, which was still at the residence. So why did they have the phone? Why didn't the daughter have the phone? Did they take it from her so she couldn't call anybody for help? And then they scared her the next day of going to tell anybody. I mean, I'm not saying it was an R, but it could have been an attack, or it could have been, oh, let's get her really drunk or whatever and take her car and her phone and just leave her, or whatever they did. I don't know. But anyway, the mother wished to check on her daughter's welfare. The mother couldn't provide any information to support that her daughter was harmed and or in harm's way, just that the subjects lied about her daughter's whereabouts. I contacted the CDA and operator Everett and issued an attempt to contact Bolo. You hear that wind? On 10/17/2014, while working the duty office, I received a call from the mother who advised her daughter returned home and she was okay. I attempted to cancel the bolo, but dispatch advised one was never entered. This was an interesting one right here. Okay, so this is assault or SA, battery misdemeanor. So battery, inmate of detention facility upon inmate or visitor. Hands, fist, feet, or no weapon. So we got victims Adam Swain, and then suspects Wade Wilson. He was 21 at the time. All right, let's read it. Okay, so the next one I'm going to be talking about is a guy that Wade assaults in jail, which happens the 4th of July, 2015. So here is that guy that he assaulted, Adam Swain. This is from 2009. Got fraud, tamper, petty theft. I'll just go over a few of his charges. The picture is 2013. Driving without a license, or driving while license is revoked. 2015, driving while license revoked. So this is what he would have looked like at the time of the incident that I'm about to read. 2017, grand theft, 300 or more, but less than 5,000. 2018, burglary, unoccupied dwelling, unarmed. 2020, we got dealing in stolen property charges. And then 2024, well, November 2024, so recently, possession of controlled substances and driving with suspended license and all that good stuff. No registering on the motor vehicle. On July 4th, 2015, at approximately 2:45 a.m., while sitting at the officer station in Pod 1, I heard an unknown inmate yelling for help from the mezzanine level. I immediately walked up to the mezzanine level to investigate the disturbance. Once upon the mezzanine level, I observed inmate Adam Swain yelling at inmate Wade Wilson. Inmate Swain was yelling and he wanted to get out of his room and for inmate Wilson to leave him alone. As I approached room 6, I observed inmate Wilson standing with his back against the cell door window, attempting to get inmate Swain to quiet down and not inform myself of the disturbance. I immediately notified Central Control to cycle room 6 via radio. As the door was opened, inmate Swain immediately ran out of the room. I instructed inmate Swain to go downstairs and have a seat in the chair while I stayed on the mezzanine level with inmate Wilson in order to keep both inmates separated. At the time, I notified Sergeant Robert Collins via radio to meet with me in Pod 1. While waiting on assistance to arrive, I began inquiring information from inmate Wilson about the incident. Inmate Wilson stated inmate Swain was masturbating on the top bunk and sitting on the toilet smoking. Inmate Wilson further stated inmate Swain jumped off the top bunk and said he was going to wipe his semen on a towel. Inmate Wilson stated he wasn't going to tolerate another inmate masturbating in his room. At approximately 2:47 a.m., Sergeant Collins entered the pod to assist with the incident. At that time, inmate Swain was sitting in a blue chair downstairs in the television area, and Sergeant Collins inquired to him for information in reference to what happened. Inmate Swain stated to Sergeant Collins, both inmates were smoking in the room earlier that night. Inmate Wilson became upset and angry, accusing him of stealing his shit, referring to his smoke products. After arguing about the smoke products, inmate Wilson pulled his penis out of his pants, erect, held it in his hand, and made advancement towards him by slapping him on the buttocks. At that time, he immediately yelled for my assistance and for inmate Wilson to leave him alone. Inmate Swain admitted to striking Wilson in the groin area with his knee in order to defend himself. Sergeant Collins also questioned the two inmates next door in room 8 for a possible witness. Inmate Isaac Wilson stated that he heard inmate Swain yelling, "Help, I need out of this room." Inmate Jeffrey Williams stated he didn't hear anything until both inmates were separated, and at that time, inmate Wade Wilson was yelling from the mezzanine to Sergeant Collins, who was downstairs at the officer station. I conducted a shakedown of room 6 due to the inmate Swain stating they were smoking. I located a tobacco product unknown rolled in paper beneath inmate Swain's mattress. Inmate Swain was issued a disciplinary report for contraband, log number blah blah blah. At approximately 2:52 a.m., Lieutenant Tony Watson, Officer John Lynn, and Officer Stephen O'Connor entered Pod 1 to assist. At approximately 2:56 a.m., Officer Lynn and Officer O'Connor escorted inmate Wilson to medical. Inmate Wilson was seen by a charge nurse, Lahoma Gilchrist, at approximately 2:59 a.m. See nurse's progress report. There were no visible injuries observed on inmate Wilson at this time. At approximately 3:04 a.m., inmate Wilson was escorted to Pod H, room 31, by Officer Lynn and placed on administrative confinement status. Inmate Wilson was issued a disciplinary report for battery, log number blah blah blah. Inmate Wilson refused to provide a written statement regarding the incident. At approximately 3:06 a.m., Officer Thomas Shields escorted inmate Swain to medical. Inmate Swain was seen by charge nurse Lahoma Gilchrist. At approximately 3:10 a.m., there were no visible injuries on inmate Swain at this time. Inmate Swain was escorted to Pod G, room 44, by Officer Shields and placed on administrative confinement status. Inmate Swain refused to provide a written statement regarding the incident. Inmate Swain did not wish to press charges and signed a non-prosecution form. Inmate Swain received a notice of legal rights and remedies.
Feel my soul.